So before I get in on this, just a quick disclaimer. This is a European French movie. In other words, this movie is in French with subtitles. There is a dub-over version, but there's a special place in hell if you actually watch those. So if you're a non-French speaker like myself, or if you're somebody who doesn't like watching foreign movies in a language that they don't understand, here's your disclaimer. However, I implore you to stay along because maybe I can change your mind. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Okay, so Lost Bullet, or Belle Perdue. Okay, look, the name's gonna be here. The lead actor's gonna be here. The director's gonna be here. I'm not gonna try to say French stuff for the rest of the video. I'm Canadian, but I'm English. I'm a fake Canadian, whatever. Call me whatever you want in the comments. Go get me, Savage Internet. But I'm not saying any more French stuff. One day I will learn French, but until then, let's get on with this review. Speaking of which, Lost Bullet stars a genius mechanic that isn't from the Fast and Furious universe, who after some first act shenanigans, we'll get into that, ends up working for a police squad as a mechanic, basically buffing their cars and giving their cars turbo. That's basically all he does. And he ends up on the wrong end of a blackmail scandal and has to find evidence to prove his innocence. And if you wonder what item he's looking for, it's in the title. So the first thing I want to say is the cast. Before I get into the cast, I'm going to give a quick disclaimer. I personally find it hard to review or critic performances by actors who A, don't speak my language, or B, are from a different country because cultural reasons and blah, 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 blah. So that being said, the actors here are great from what me as an English speaker sees in these French actors. I think they're great. I think they look the part, which is something a lot of Hollywood movies like Fast and Furious get wrong, where they cast maybe an actor who may have the chops for it, but they don't look the part. All the actors they look gruff, they look tough. It's great. The casting was perfect for this. And the tone, and especially the lead looks like a bad motherfucker. Like, great casting. And before I get into the plot and stuff like that, I want to talk about the action scenes. First, another disclaimer. If you're here because the advertisement for the movie was all about cars and racing, and you're going to be disappointed. What they have here with the cars is pretty good. You know, like as I said, they basically fortify the cars, they add turbo to them, and they just go ram into each other, ram through walls. It's pretty great, but there's not a lot of it. In fact, a lot of the action scenes are more hand-to-hand fisticuffs and some gun scenes, but there's not a lot of those either. Sorry, gun fans. But the fight scenes in this movie they're not John Wick level, nothing is, but they're very fucking good. Very good. They don't try to overproduce Hollywood-esque the movie. What we get here is we get fight scenes without any background music, and we don't get any crazy sound effects, blah, blah, blah. All we get is just people beating the crap out of each other, and it's not, again, like in some movies, like when you get like a little cut on your head, you open, or in some movies you can get your head bashed through a window and you just have some scratches. Die Hard. This movie, someone gets their head hit against the wall, it's bleeding. You get your leg kicked in, you can't walk. It's realistic, and as realistic as movies can get, and it's gritty, it's violent. I would recommend just watching one scene in particular, which is well, not say just, but it's a scene in a police station, and it's awesome. The best fight scene in the movie. If you're not going to watch this movie, YouTube that. But don't, because you should support the actual people who made the movie. But anyway, and there's a lot of people now who are like online, oh, women in fight scenes get it easy, they don't get hit, oh my god, and they don't even want to portray a woman getting hurt, oh my god, Avengers. People say that, but that doesn't apply to France, because there is a lady in said police station fight scene we talked about, and oh my god, first of all, she's the most entertaining person in that scene, she's jumping around and shit, but oh my god, she is the first person to get her, she gets her ass kicked. So, equality, thanks France. So now, when we talk about the plot of the movie, this is where things kind of go downhill, at least in the first act. The second and third act, second act in particular is really good. The third act, the ending is kind of like, is there a sequel? Will we get a sequel? I don't know. Let's see how this movie does on Netflix. First act, I could make a whole video on, and why it's so shit. But here are the cliff notes. A, we're given no context for most scenes. like the first scene when it's a heist scene, but we're not saying why they're doing what they're doing, what got them there, even though they're one person is blaming the other person for you're the reason we're here. Then, well, why? And speaking of not having context, as I said at the beginning of the video, our main character has worked with a police squad. He's acting certain ways with each character and stuff like that. We don't know why. We're not given any context. Like he has one named Jessica, who's one of the members. There seems to be tension there, but we don't know why. We find out later in the movie, but like by that point, it's like the third act, and I don't care. Then we find out, oh, there was a 9-month time skip. It's like, okay, why didn't you show what happened in the 9 months? Like, he was working with the squad for 9 months, and we don't know what he was doing besides giving cars more armor and turbo. Which makes the plot twist in the first act not meaningless. It gets the plot moving, but we should have cared more. There's a plot twist, and there's one character in particular that is likable from what we see of this character, but we would care a lot more if this happened maybe 30 minutes into the movie and not, I don't know, 15? Maybe 13 if I'm being honest. And that's the biggest problem with this movie. The first act gives you no context. It gives you a random time skip that they tell you about laissez-faire through conversation, and it just makes the rest of the movie kind of chug along. Like the second act needs to really make up for the first, which it does with its action sequences, but then the third act, which is very plot heavy, just kind of like, I should care, but I don't. And it's really upsetting because this movie could have been more than just like a really fun French action movie. This movie could have been a really fun French action movie with a good plot, which a lot of action movies now are just action. Like, I like John Wick, but at least in the first movie, there's not really a lot of plot to go, but the action's good. This movie kind of falls into the same category, except John Wick's better, to be completely honest. So, my verdict, just to sum everything up, the fight scenes are amazing. The characters, though not fully developed, and we should care about them more, are serviceable and entertaining when they're given a chance to shine. We hate the characters we're supposed to hate, we like the characters we're supposed to like. Good enough. However, the fact that you marketed this movie towards cars racing and cars hitting each other and only having like maybe 3 scenes of that is pretty disappointing. And the first act, I almost quit. Almost dropped after the first act. I think some people will. There is good to have. You get past that first like 15-20 minutes. Once you get to the scene I mentioned in the police station, that's when stuff starts, from an action and plot standpoint, starts picking up. But you gotta, it's hard. Again, I almost dropped it. But that being said, everything said, I believe that this movie is worth a watch. However, if you're a plot-heavy person where you're not really into action or action without good plot, skip it. If you like good action and you can kind of forgive a lackluster plot, at least in the beginning, the plot does get better, but there's a ceiling when there's a weak first act, then give this movie a try. I do think this movie is good. I think it's worth a watch, but there's a lot of bad to go with the good, and the bad and the good doesn't necessarily outweigh the bad, at least from a narrative perspective. But yeah, anyway, that's it for me. An English person talking about a French movie, like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, it's been me, Benny B. You've been awesome, and shave your head.